Welcome back to Your Travel with Olivia. Thank you so much for joining me here again today. However, if this is your first time visiting this channel, please consider subscribing because this is the channel where you will find anything to do with travel. What is it about this vaccine passport? Should we have it or shouldn't we? Well, it's become a really controversial topic because it's not that easy. Now, of course, the people who want this vaccine passport, it's because it's a quick remedy and a quick fix to verifying who has had the vaccine so that we can just get back to normal travel the way that it used to be. By creating that herd immunity that we're all going to get once we're vaccinated, we can now start to travel the same way that we did before. And so many of the industries are out there who want this done ASAP because it's their business, right? And they are losing money and it's people's livelihoods at stake here. And so yes, definitely let's get this done, whatever it takes, right? However, once you start peeling back the layers of what does that mean, there is a little bit of a glitch there. And that glitch is that, well, right now, just the same way that it's regulated that when you're traveling, yes, you do have to show that you have a negative test just to get in a country, just to leave your country. And even when you get there, you still need to be quarantined in different countries throughout the world. So there seems to be this global standardization as far as testing goes. But when it comes to inoculations, we just don't have that right now. Places like Iceland is the first country that has actually issued a vaccine passport and says that once you can show that you have been vaccinated, you are now able to come to the country and you don't have to go through quarantine because previously you had to quarantine for 5 days. Another country that has just started it out as well has a green passport is Israel. And they're saying now once you can show and you have this green passport, which shows that you have been vaccinated, you now can get into theaters, into the shopping malls, and into any of the public places, and travel as well. However, if you don't have that, then you can't get into any of these public places. And so there's a little bit of an outcry there and an outrage, and that's because it is not accessible to everybody. That vaccine is not available to the whole of the population. Which brings us to the World Health Organization has 2 reasons why they don't want to implement that right now. One is, like I just said, not everywhere in the world or even in your region, in your own country, is it accessible that people can get the vaccine. And so therefore, we are now creating the have and have-nots. And well, that means that, there's certain people who can get the vaccination, be it their age, be it their community, whatever it is. And there are those because they don't meet the requirements yet. So therefore, they can't travel till they get it. And that's going to create, and not is going to, it has started to create that rivalry between those particular groups. And the second one is we don't know that much about the vaccine yet. We don't know that once you are vaccinated that you cannot get reinfected again. And also we don't know, are you a carrier? There are still many variables that surround the vaccine. For instance, we have the introduction of the variants that have been identified. And so the question is that the vaccine, does it give you immunity against any of these variants? Because it was only tested for the COVID-19 virus, is it going to give you protection against this new virus which has been mutated from the existing one? And the answer is, from the pharmaceutical companies, is we think it should. It probably, maybe, we're confident that maybe it does. And to us, that's not a very confident answer. And so then taking that into consideration, that's not something that we can really rely on going forward, not at this time anyways. Another thing is right now we have people who have gotten their first shot and they're supposed to receive their second shot in 21 days. However, because we want to spread the vaccinations out and not hold back any vaccines so that people can get their second dose in 21 days, we're telling them now that they have to wait 4 months to get their second shot in order that we can get all of those vaccines, we can get them out to more people who can get their first dose. So the pharmaceutical companies are saying, hang on a minute, we said in our clinical studies that we have done and conducted, we said that from 21 days from the first shot to the second shot, we can provide that person with 95% efficacy in terms of not contracting COVID or decreasing the severity of it going forward. So that they can stand by. And so this is one of the reasons why the World Health Organization says, hold on when it comes to this vaccine passport and opening up the doors and opening up everything. Let's just stand back and just take a look at all the data before we get too ahead of ourselves on that. And with that, I have a guest here with me today who can shed a different light on exactly what others are thinking about. What do we do? How are we going to address this overall? So here we have Brian, who has a different view on whether we should or should not have vaccine passports going forward. What do you feel, or how do you feel about that? Because we have talked about the controversy that is surrounding it for those of the have and have nots.
Even though I'm married and I'm not allowed to have feelings or opinions, I will venture on right now.
Yes, and that's why you're here.
Okay.
To give us your views.
Well, what's your view?
Why don't we start with what's off the top of your head?
Okay, what off the top of your head? I believe we should have vaccine passports.
Yes.
Because life is very stratified. There are people who can do stuff and the people who can't do stuff, and it's all based on wealth. It's all based on where you're born, opportunity. Life is unequal. And yes, it is going to be unequal. Not everyone can travel, but maybe not everyone should travel. And I believe that, yes, we should have vaccine passports. Not that it seems like this vaccine does anything to prevent the disease, just prevent the severity of it. So you could still have it and still travel. And so I don't believe it solves anything, because we've known cases of people who've had the vaccine, have had the virus, their symptoms were mild, but they still had the virus and it's still transmittable. So I don't think it solves anything except maybe like a liability thing. You say if you go away, you might not need hospitalization.
Exactly. So you're not putting as much stress or strain on the places that you're visiting. Mm. But that's pretty interesting that you're saying that, we've already had this kind of separation and segregation already in society. Yes. But definitely it is not something that we endorse. And therefore I'm saying that the World Health Organization is saying right now that we don't want to endorse something like that. That is not where we want to say, those particular ones who have been able to get the vaccine, by all means travel. For those of you who haven't, because we haven't offered it to you yet, well, you just have to sit tight and wait until your turn comes. They don't want to put that kind of message out there.
Well, they already have in that terms, like before the pandemic, you couldn't go to certain countries without certain vaccines.
Correct. We talked about that.
Exactly. We've already had that. So it's just another thing, and sit tight and let's be realistic. Although the pandemic was bad for the million plus who died, or maybe they're in a better place, so maybe it's good for them. Who knows?
Whoa.
Right? So let's I'm
show a little bit of empathy.
I am. I'm going there in a better place. They're in a better place. I mean, it's land of milk and honey. So the thing is that like you're saying, it's this lockdown. Everything, is it doing anything? I believe it is. In that we were heading a path of earlier destruction than normal, in that we were over consuming, we were over polluting, we were over everything.
Over tourism.
Over everything. This was a gut check for everyone in terms of like, okay, we can do with less. And, so even though it's like people are saying it's a pandemic, maybe it is.
So basically you're saying this is perfect because it's like a reset.
Yeah, I think it's
a reset button.
It's been good for a lot of people and bad for the few who lost their jobs, but overall, I think we all found out we can do with less.
Well, I think what you could say there is that you can take the positive, and there has been a lot of negative around it and surrounding it, and that's what gets sensationalized and gets on the news. However, there's a lot of positive that comes out of that. But we're getting away from the topic here,
Yes.
and that the topic is the vaccine passport. Going forward, is it something that we should be signing up for? I think it's inevitable anyways, but is it something that we want to get done as quickly as possible so that we can get back to travel the way that we did before? Because we feel that that is the answer, is that everybody gets vaccinated, and we've got proof that they were vaccinated, so therefore everybody is going to be immune, and we'll have this herd immunity. Or is it that that's not the answer right now? And so I think we've answered the question one hand, and out there it still leaves a lot of questions.
And the other thing too is that if you want something, you have to make sacrifices. And so if you don't want to make that sacrifice, you don't get that thing. So if to travel and to go to different places, they require you to have this vaccine passport, you have to decide, well, do I really want to go there, or can I stay home and vacation just as well? And let's be realistic. Mostly when they go on vacation, just lie by the pool and drink. You can do that at home.
We have had this conversation before in a previous video I did
People don't know that they have short-term memories.
Yeah, well, I did a video on that before, on those who like to travel and those who don't.
No, actually, now I like to travel.
Yeah, because you can't travel.
Exactly. So now I'm like a prisoner who's looking forward to this great meal, good vacation, being by the seaside.
Yeah. For now.
Lockdown has changed my perspective.
Okay, well, we all have the right to change our minds, and maybe going forward.
But I'm married. Do I have that right?
No.
Okay, sorry. I got ahead of myself.
It's something I just wanted to let the public know they have the right to change their mind.
Unmarried males have a right to change their perspective.
You have a right to change your mind as we go forward with this whole topic of vaccine passports. So I think that's it. That just basically comes down to, we haven't really answered the question here. We've just probably brought up a little bit more to talk about. We are starting to peel those layers back of those controversial topics and concerns going forward. However, if you have any comments that you want to make about some of the things that were mentioned here, please go ahead and put that in the comments section down below. Always a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Yes, well,
I appreciate that.
He doesn't get that very often, so we shall relish in your words, okay? Thank you. Look forward to seeing you again next week, and adios. Bye-bye.